Bitcoin has just smashed through the $110,000 mark to hit a brand new all-time high. While most people are still watching from the sidelines, the big institutions have already made their moves. And in this video, I'll walk you through exactly what's driving this historic rally, and more importantly, how can you actually position yourselves in Bitcoin just like any other stock without needing a crypto wallet or an exchange account. And if you're waiting for the right time to get in, this might be it. Let's go. So let's take a look at some news that is affecting Bitcoin right now. You can see, right, Bitcoin hits new record high above the 111,000 as rally marches on. So this bullish move in Bitcoin is driven by a mix of positive momentum, right, growing optimism around US crypto regulation and continued interest from institutional buyers as well. We have started to see a bit of strength in the markets over the past few weeks due to de-escalation of trade tensions between US and China, and Bitcoin is also kind of like correlated with the equity markets, particularly the tech sector. US President Donald Trump and his AI and crypto czar David Sachs have actually pushed forward a pro-crypto agenda in the US, and that has helped support the entire cryptocurrency market as well. And also some of the banks are allowing their clients to buy cryptocurrency as well, like JP Morgan, a notable Bitcoin skeptic, right, said that the bank will allow clients to actually buy cryptocurrency finally. Let's take a look at another news, right? Bitcoin hits all-time high as Wall Street piles into crypto. So Donald Trump taking a less aggressive approach on tariffs is a big factor as well on the entire market, all right, de-escalation with China, and that is kind of like pushing the equity markets and so crypto a little bit higher. And analysts say that Wall Street interest could send it to $200,000. So now it's like 110,000. Analysts are predicting it could hit around $200,000. Another thing that's pushing Bitcoin higher as well is because institutional investors are also increasingly buying these digital assets as expectations mount for new exchange-traded funds, ETF, right, that's pegged to Solana and XRP, another cryptocurrency. So right now, there are a total of like 10 global asset managers that collectively hold about $16 billion worth of Bitcoin via the ETFs. So later I'll share with you guys a little bit more on ETF as to how you can actually buy them, right, without buying the Bitcoin directly, just like any other normal stock. So what happens is ETF is issued by what we call an ETF issuer. So in order to track the price of Bitcoin, they would have to buy the Bitcoin, right? And that's where you can see collectively they hold about $60 billion worth of Bitcoin. So enough of the news, let's take a look at Bitcoin price right now. You can see we are trading at about 110,949. All right, you can see over here. So you can see that since like April or maybe January, since January, right, we have hit a high for around $110,000. We touched it around here the first time, second time, rebounded, hit it over here, and we sold off. So 110,000. Let me just go to draw this very critical resistance level right over here, 110,000. I think that's a very, very key psychological resistance that we are now back here again. All right, after 5 months, we are back here again. So if we can break the 110,000 and stay above it, I think it could really lead to more upside momentum. It could be a new phase higher. There could be more legs, not just the reversal, but to rally even higher. So let's take a look at some of the key levels. For Bitcoin, you can see that in 2024, well, it was pretty much moving sideways from about 50,000 to 75,000. Look, it's up and down, swing up and down. So it's a bit boring, I would say, in 2024 until somewhere around November, right over here. They started to see a bit of an uptrend turning in terms of the short-term trend turning up. Look at the green line. So the green 20 days moving average line that was like flat started to really point up somewhere around November last year and went all the way up, and we started to consolidate. So let me go to draw this support level whereby we were consolidating above, I would say, the 90,000. It's up, down, up, down. We broke 90,000, went down to around that 75,000, right, in April when the market sold off. And you can see, right, we have finally got above the 90,000 just about 3 weeks back and pushed even higher towards the 110,000. So now what I could do is that I have this strategy that I've been using for more than a decade now, and that would be what I call the one good trend strategy. So essentially in this strategy, we want to ride the trend of stocks, right? And of course, you can apply it to crypto as well. And we have this one good trend pro indicator based on this one good trend strategy. So let me just show you what it says on my one good trend pro indicator. So over here, you can see that I can turn on any stocks, any asset classes, even Bitcoin, even the markets, this one good trend pro indicator, and see what it says. Are there any bullish or bearish signals that have came up for Bitcoin over the past few months? Let me go to turn it on. There we go. So I just turn on the box and you can see right over here, well, we actually, okay, let me remove all the key drawings, right? So you can see that for Bitcoin, well, somewhere around like September last year, we got a bullish signal, right? Started to hit all the way up from September all the way to around like January. We got a bearish signal, about 67% in about 3 to 4 months. All right, pretty good. All right, couple of bearish signals. As I say, it came down. So when you see a bearish signal, probably not want to buy. It could mean some selling in the short term. Bullish signal in February 2024. Look at this right over here. Very strong rally after that, all the way up until a bearish signal appeared. So that was in 2024. So let's move back to 2025 to see what exactly happened. So since I would say in February and March, well, we have like 1, 2, and 3 bearish signals. It started to sell all the way down from like 100 or 90 all the way to about 75,000. All right, but let's see what has happened. I would say that over the past 1 over month, well, finally on the 22nd of April, you can see that we actually have a new 1 GT bullish signal. All right, and if you take a look at what we call the short-term trend and to see if there's any other confirmation, where you can see that this green 20 days moving average line that was going down since February, down March, right? Finally, right after the bullish signal came out, it started to point up as well as another confirmation of the short-term trend turning back up. So that's like, kind of like 2 ticks, right, for Bitcoin that we are indeed seeing a reversal from here, all right, somewhere around the 85,000. It's gone up all the way to the 110,000. So I think it looks pretty good. This bullish signal is still in play. There is no bearish signal coming out as of now. All right, you can see there's no bearish signal coming out. It could be maybe a bit higher at 120, 130, 150, nobody knows. But if the bearish signal were to come out like over here, then we may start to see maybe a retracement back down, or it could be a bit of weakness coming back. But so far, there is no bearish signal. This 1 GT bullish signal is still playing out. So let me just go to draw back the 110,000 psychological resistance level. I think it's a very critical level, as I say, right? This bullish signal is in play. Short-term trend is up. If you can break above the 110,000, then we go to like 112, 113, 114. We stay above the 110,000. I think it could be really signs of more upside momentum. All right, that's where a lot of news headlines are covering it. Bitcoin breaking 110 is an all-time high. Blah blah blah. What's the reasons why it's going up? And it could create a lot of momentum as well, right? And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. But it's only like 1 or 2 days, so we have to see, right, over the next few days, maybe up to the next 1 or 2 weeks, if we can indeed hold above the 110,000, right? That's a key resistance. If we can break it and we can stay above it as a new higher support level, I think we are poised to have even more upside, whereby targets could be rise higher to 120 or even 150,000. Okay, so let's move on to how can you actually take a position in Bitcoin? Well, in order to buy Bitcoin, you will need to buy through a crypto exchange, right? You need a crypto wallet as well. So that is not really my forte, so I'll not dive too much into that. But what you could do actually, right, if you want to just buy it like any other normal US stock, you could buy what we call the ETF, exchange traded fund. So since last year, January 2024, what happens? The SEC, Securities Exchange Commission in the US, have actually approved ETF that tracks Bitcoin prices. So what are ETF, exchange traded fund? Well, essentially an ETF is issued by an issuer, all right, to track a certain index or to track Bitcoin, or like something like the S&P 500 index. If you want to kind of like buy the entire S&P 500 index, you can't really buy the index, but what you could do is to buy an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 index, and that would be what we call the SPY, right? The S&P 500 ETF. Same thing for Bitcoin. If you want to take a position in Bitcoin, you could actually buy the ETF that tracks Bitcoin. So what is the ETF? Well, you can see right over here, there are a couple of ETF, but I would say the most popular one would be this one right over here called the iShares Bitcoin Trust, right? The code is IBIT, right? And it's issued by BlackRock. I would say the highest AUM ETF that is tracking Bitcoin. So you can go to your stock trading account, you can just type in the code IBIT. You will need to acknowledge the WA band form like any other normal US stocks, right? For ETF, you might need to acknowledge the client knowledge assessment form, even take the risk warning statement as well for US stocks. But essentially, you can buy Bitcoin just like any other normal US stocks, right? Because this stock or this ETF actually tracks Bitcoin. So let's take a look at this ETF called IBIT that tracks the Bitcoin. You can see right over here. So this is like the Bitcoin prices, right? Bitcoin 110, 111,000. But you can look down right over here. There's an iShares Space Bitcoin Trust. And the code, as I mentioned just now, is IBIT. So same thing as you see over here, it follows and it tracks Bitcoin prices. So it looks pretty similar to Bitcoin. You can see we had a couple of like bullish signal in September. Same thing for Bitcoin. I think in, let's see, right? So in September, same thing, got a bullish signal, went all the way up. From like December all the way to February, we are consolidating, bearish signal came down. This is Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the ETF right over here. You can see, same thing, it looks pretty similar. Somewhere in September, October, went all the way up, bearish signal coming out in February, down, down, down. And let's take a look at it right over here. So this is the ETF IBIT. You can see, same thing, we got a bullish signal coming out 22nd of April, started push up the green 20 days moving average line, right? That was going down, down, down. That means the short-term trend was down, right? Since February. Well, it started to point up as well as another confirmation. You can see we actually have another new 1GT bullish signal today. So I think it's very critical, all right? If you can hold above, I mean, in terms of this ETF, right? I mean, if you're looking at the Bitcoin prices, if you can hold above the 110,000, good, all right? I think that is where the ETF will push even higher as well. You will track it, you will follow it, and same thing, I think the resistance would be same thing right over here, maybe somewhere around that 61 to 60. If you can hold above that 61 to 60, it will be like, you know, Bitcoin holding above the 110,000. So there we have it. This is essentially how you can take a position in Bitcoin, all right, without actually buying the Bitcoin directly in a cryptocurrency exchange or holding a crypto wallet. It's so much easier. It's just like buying a normal US stocks, so convenient, and that's what you can do with any stock trading account. So watch the levels I talked about, 110,000 for Bitcoin, all right? If you can break the level, we stay above it. I think the bullish signals can still continue to play out. Let's take a look at Bitcoin prices again. You can see, right? So a bullish signal, as I mentioned, we are right here. It's only a day, but we're right here at 110. Next few days will be very critical. If we can hold above 110, I think that would be where that could really be more upside momentum. So you're going to find out a little bit more in terms of my entire one good trend strategy that you can apply to stocks. I mean, US stocks, Singapore stocks, DBS, Apple, even Bitcoin. The principles of it is the same, all right? You can attend one of those free webinars that I'm running, all right? The link is right below the video. Click on it, register for this free webinar, and I'll share with you guys a little bit more on the entire framework of the one good trend strategy and how perhaps you could have a tool or an indicator like this, like the one good trend pro indicator. All right, you can turn it on any asset classes, not just stocks, even though my forte is in stocks, right? Singapore stocks, US stocks, Hong Kong stocks. This is my forte, but you can actually turn it on any asset classes, even Bitcoin, even Forex. All right, matter of seconds, off, on, all right, and you see the bullish and bearish signals to guide you, and I think it's so much more powerful as well if you understand the reason behind it. All right, so if you find a bit more, attend one of those free webinars. The link is right below the video. So Joey here, thank you so much for watching. All right, I look forward to see you on my free webinars on my next video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, follow so that you will not miss out on any videos that we publish. I'll see you soon.